Okay, we're going to move on now to lesson 3 of biology, which is development of the cell theory. Student learning objectives are students will learn about spontaneous generation and how it was eventually proven incorrect. Learn about the work of Louis Pasteur, controlled, manipulated, and responding variables, and points of the cell theory. Now, I don't want to go over this lesson too much. I would ask that everyone reads page 247, 252. Just for some background, you see, there was a point in time where, cells and how no one knew about cells. No one knew about how life started. There were a lot of misconceptions. And then over time, experiments took place and findings were discovered, that brought us to how life, kind of carries on and reproduces. And then also the concept of the cell. And that's what we're going to go into later in this course. There was a concept called spontaneous generation. Spontaneous generation is the idea that life could emerge spontaneously from non-living matter. And this was accepted for, hundreds of years. You can read about this. There was an experiment with the meat and the maggots and how certain things were covered and closed and so on and so forth. I would like you to read about that. And there's a few other experiments here. Basically, I don't really want to spend time lecturing about that. I just want you to be aware that these are things I'd like you to read about, okay? Probably the most important thing in this little section, this little lesson, is the work of Louis Pasteur and how he talked about how he proved with microorganisms, and he did a really interesting experiment here with broth. One thing I'd like you to know here is the difference between the different types of variables. When you read about this, I want you to keep in mind what controlled variables are, manipulated variables, and responding variables. This was a great experiment. I hope that you have a chance to read about it. It really kind of proved, if I go back a page, it really got us away from this whole idea of spontaneous generation of life kind of just appearing out of nowhere. So I do think it would be great for you guys to read about this. Finally, I just want to go up here, go over again the cell theory. The cell theory states so this is kind of where after we had, we disproved spontaneous generation and we proved the cell exists and so on and so forth. Then we got the cell theory. And the cell theory states all living things are made up of one or more cells. All life functions take place in cells, making them the smallest unit of life. All cells are produced from pre-existing cells through the process of cell division. That will come about in Bio 30 if you choose to take that course. Please read about the details of cell theory on page 251. Anyway, everybody, this is one of those sections of the course where I'm going to expect you to read about it and read the stories for yourselves, and it'll just help you show how they moved from spontaneous generation to disproving that. And I really think it's important to know the experiment of Louis Pasteur and how he proved spontaneous generation to be wrong. So I guess now that this video is over, everyone should have a read of that section of the textbook.